Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Suli McCullough, and it is time to run it back. We have gone to the place that we can't wait that we're here. The finals are right around the corner. I've got a great episode for you today, guys. We've got the great Dom Irrera on the show. Yes! And, of course, my co-host Dan Ratner is here. It's time to run it back, y'all.
Dom, welcome to the show. This is exciting.
Thank you,
to have you here.
Appreciate it.
I know you're a Philly guy. I went to grad school in Philly, so we're gonna do, and my wife's from Philly, so we got some Philly talking to do.
Where'd you go? Where did you go to grad school?
And no, I was at Widener University in Chester.
You couldn't get in Pennsylvania?
Well, actually, I'm a therapist. Now you were on the show,
Very
Dr.
proud.
Katz. So you've been to see a therapist, I know.
I was
At least on TV.
Than any other human being.
Exactly.
I think it really cleared my head.
Well, it only takes 20 years.
We like to start the show where I show what jersey I'm wearing, Dom. And that's how we jump this thing off. So it's a little interplay that Dr. Dan and I have where I reveal the jersey, which I will do now.
Let's do it.
This is
Ooh.
a Scottie Pippen USA basketball jersey. And this is one of the good jerseys from one of the great USA basketball teams. It has the Chuck Daly insignia. Chuck Daly was the coach at the time. And Scottie Pippen has been in the basketball news this week, which we will talk about later on.
Yes,
Dr. Dan, what T-shirt are you wearing?
Okay, see, that's the thing, Dom, because I never want to steal a show from Sully, but I like to have a little bit of a counterpoint. Today I'm wearing this shirt.
The MASH T-shirt.
Now let's see if you can guess why. We're talking NBA, and basically everyone is injured. Everyone.
Okay.
So I went for the MASH shirt because really, I mean, look, Sully, it's been 2 weeks since we last met, and since that time, I don't know if you did it yourself, but the Greek Freak's out, Trae Young's out.
Yes.
It's like
Kawhi Leonard was out.
Kawhi Leonard was out until the Clippers were out.
They would have won.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, they would have won.
Yes. Oh, wow. Dom, hot take.
You remember when Magic and Byron Scott were both out, and then the Pistons took in?
Yes.
Lakers would have won that too, but what can we do?
Right.
Listen,
exactly.
I was with you, Dom. I had the Clippers as my pick to win it all this year.
And my take on the whole thing was whoever won the Bucks Nets series was going to win the championship.
I love the kid that pushed Chris from behind.
Yeah, we're going to talk
Beverley.
about that. Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about that.
I've ever seen in my life.
See, here's the thing, Dom. You are a ball player. You've played, pickup runs. You have a semi-competitive swagger about you on the courts. We never got to play together, which is one of my big regrets.
Because of a generational gap. Because of a gap.
Yes, exactly. And not enough icy hot, really. But that moment is kind of a defining moment in Patrick Beverley's career. Like, we all know Patrick Beverley's. When he did that, I was like, oh, come on, Pat Bev. Like, this is the best the Clippers have ever done in franchise history, and you're ruining it in one moment.
Yeah. And he, I don't know what you think about this, Dom, but I always feel bad for people if they snap in one given moment, because it's like anybody can make a mistake. But I have to say, looking at that, I'm like, man, that is a chump move. That is just.
I can't believe he didn't have one of his teammates watching his back. He got through. He got through that. That was their security.
Right. No.
Yeah. Well, the weird thing too is like I said, we all know a guy that plays like Patrick Beverley. Patrick Beverley is one of those dudes that definitely has a gun in his gym bag. He's one of those guys that purposely doesn't cut his nails before a game. So after you play against him, you're like, did I wrestle a mountain lion for 43 minutes?
The worst I ever saw was when Barkley spit on that little girl.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Barkley said, "I didn't mean to spit on her. I meant to spit on her father." Oh,
well, you're friends with Barkley, and you and I have a great Barkley encounter. I would love if you would tell that story. because it makes it. First of all, it was hilarious. It's part of Clipper lore. It sort of fits as the Clippers are eliminated that you tell this story. If you would indulge us, please.
I remember he always changes his number. So
yes.
Let's just go down to the arena and we'll wait for him. Maybe he'll want to go out with us.
Yeah.
So at halftime, everybody's working. Everybody's getting loose, working out. He's just sitting there like a big love.
Yeah.
We walk down and past security. I go, Charles. And some guy goes, "Hey, pal, come on, you got to get out of here. Let's go." And I go, "Chuck, it's Dom." He goes, "Hey, Dome." And then I was just worried about being embarrassed in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah. But this was a time, can I just add, this was a time in Clipper history where tickets were readily available. This is when they would sell the Clippers off, come see your favorite team beat the Clippers horribly. Yeah. Dom's like, "Oh, Barkley's coming to town. I'm going to get us some tickets." So you were able to get us courtside seats at the time, which I was like, "Oh, Dom's really got it like that." And then it was just, let's just sit close enough to Barkley and then see if we can get his attention, which it all seems easy in theory, but the execution of it was a little problematic.
Well, you look like a nut going, Charles.
Yeah, right. We're over here. We're your friends.
I remember we went to Jones. Restaurant.
Yes. So here's the thing. Like, he gets Barkley's attention. Barkley is super excited to see Dom and invites us into the locker room after the game, right? And I love because we had that moment with the usher that was trying to prevent us from getting to Barkley. Like, see, he really does know us, right?
That's right. Yeah, you gotta get back with the usher and settle the score.
Yes, exactly. So we went back into the locker room, and it was my first time in an NBA locker room. And first of all, they're drinking beers in the locker room, and after the game, and I was like, "Oh my God, these athletes drink alcohol?"
They're practicing again after a game.
Yes. And then we went to a restaurant and hung out with Barkley, and it was great. Like, Barkley is such an engaging personality, and like we had a ball. Like, it was really, literally, Dom, you are responsible for two of my greatest basketball experiences, and meeting Charles Barkley and spending a dinner with him was one. The other one was you took me to see Michael Jordan play live.
Oh yeah, the All-Star game.
Yes. Well, it was Magic's All-Star game. Magic used to do this All-Star game. Yes. Sean Kemp was a rookie at the time. He had 50 points in this game.
He was 19 years old. He only had 10 kids at that time.
Yes. He was young. He was just getting started.
He doesn't have to wait for the woman to not be pregnant. He just moves on to the next one.
Yes. So we went to that game. This is when Jordan was. This was like 89 Jordan. This was Jordan at the peak of his powers. Yeah. Like, he was the biggest thing in basketball. This is how hot Jordan was and how popular he was. He actually participated in a dunk contest after the game.
After the game? I didn't know
After
this.
the game. Magic Johnson held an impromptu dunk contest, and Jordan participated in that game. So I am forever indebted to you, Dom, because those are two of the greatest basketball experiences I've ever had.
I just like when he said my ex-wife and my girlfriend Sophie were with me, and Charles goes, "How does that work?" He goes, "When I grow up, I want to be Dom."
Yeah, right.
Having those two get together, I love that.
Yeah,
that's some impressive work, Dom. I got to give it to you.
Well, Dom's a master. I don't know if you know this, Dan, but Dom was voted one of the 100 funniest comics of all time.
All time.
By Comedy Central.
Everything. All of history. I love that. You know who was right after me? Bobby Slayton. And he was pissed that he didn't have that part. And I was after Cedric the Entertainer.
Really?
Yeah. I couldn't beat the Entertainer. All I do is jokes. He entertains. He has people.
There you go. Listen, it's not too late. You can move up the charts. I mean, if Cedric has a bad week, you crack some good jokes.
I mean, Dom should have been like, if they were to redo that list, like every few years they do the top 50 greatest players of all time. I think Dom would find himself higher up the list. I just think he would.
I think Chris Rock would have made the list too at that time.
Yeah, you would think Chris Rock wasn't on the list.
Bill Burr, no Rogan.
Wow, they left off some. Yeah, it's time to redo that list. Now, one thing, Dom, you started. You were a school teacher prior to being stand-up, right?
Fourth grade.
Fourth grade, you talk.
Wait, I have to interject here because, Dom, I was a third grade teacher.
Really?
They're great years. That's like when they're just kids. I loved it.
It's the best.
It's so much fun.
And once they get to fifth grade, it's like they've turned a corner. It's a different thing.
Yes. What was that transition like, Dom?
What, being a teacher to comedy?
Yeah, like were you doing open mics at night? Like how did you talk me through that?
I was a bouncer at a bar.
Uh-huh.
We had mostly medical students, so it wasn't like it was a tough bar. And nobody messed with me because of my size. They thought, well, I was like 140 pounds. He must know something. I know nothing. And we had Randall Cobb was the other bouncer. Remember Randall Cobb, the guy he got his ass kicked? I think it was Larry Holmes beat him.
Oh, wow. So you had a professional boxer as a bouncer.
Yeah. And they would mess with him, but they wouldn't mess with me because they go,
right.
The little one, he must be crazy. This one with no teeth. I'm not afraid of him.
So you were doing what? Open mics in the clubs?
No, I was actually in plays at the time.
Uh-huh.
I got into the only reason I got into drama was no love for drama. It's just you didn't have a term paper.
Yeah.
You backed into that.
I mean, we got a lot of parts, because it was a small school and it was mostly girls. So I was like the rabbi and fiddler on the roof, which 19-year-old Italian rabbi with the Guinea T-shirt on.
Right.
And I just started from there, and then I did some improv. And the only reason I got into stand-up was the money was better because it's just one person getting paid.
Sure.
I love when people go, "Were you always funny?" No, I decided to become funny when my career as an accountant came crashing down. Were you always funny? My ass. What do you think?
Yeah. But it seems like it kind of instantly took off for you. And one of the things, like when I first started doing stand-up and we became friends, I was so excited to be your friend because I knew your stand-up and I loved it. And what I loved about it was you were really real. And you talked about real experiences, like family members. Like your comedy was grounded in truth. I mean, it was hilarious, but it's also grounded and felt real and accessible.
Well, yeah, people would ask me that because I had this one bit about my cousin Johnny.
Yeah.
He's kind of drugged up and all. One time I opened the door and he's got blood all over his eye. I go, "What's the matter?" He goes, "I was trying to see if I could knock myself out." I was watching boxing. I wanted to see if I could. He said, so I took it from my hip. I cracked myself over the eye. I was bleeding like a pig. He goes, "But I'll tell you what, Dom, I wouldn't go down."
You played both roles.
Real?
That's really funny. Oh, I can see how you got on that list, Dom.
It was funny, dude. Like we used to, when I was in college, we used to do Big Petey, Little Petey, Repeaty. Like we would say your lines all the time.
Donuts.
Yeah, right. And you're also in one of my favorite movies of all time, a classic, Robert Townsend's Hollywood Shuffle, which you are absolutely brilliant in.
I ain't begotten no weapon.
Yes. I was at San Jose State at the time, before I transferred to UCLA. I saw that movie in a theater, and it was at the time where I knew I wanted to do stand-up. It was just a matter of figuring out how to do it. And I saw that movie in a theater, and I was doubled over laughing with tears in my eyes. It was the funniest thing that I had ever seen. And it was so funny. It made me make the dream a reality. Like I had done something. I had nothing to do with the movie, but it had that kind of impact on me and made me laugh that hard where I was like, oh, I'm gonna be a comedian.
Robert Townsend, we shot it. We could only do one take because we had no money, and Townsend he maneuvered it. He'd go and work a couple gigs, come back, we'd start shooting again.
Yeah.
And it was really funny. We would have the giggles all the time.
Yeah.
Just kind of like crying laughter.
Yeah.
I think it was like they couldn't do another take. Like Damon Wayans broke character.
Uh-huh.
Started laughing, and they kept it in. They kept it in the movie. If you see the movie, you see Damon just going cookie jar, and he's crying and and we just left it in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the comedy gold.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like you had another part in the movie. Like you, of course, played the casting director, and the casting director was hilarious. Like, tell me what the vibe was like. Like, did Townsend just reach out to you and was like, Dom, I need you to do this, or?
Well, we were watching Georgetown play Villanova.
Yeah.
Basketball, and I was Villanova. He's Georgetown. And he said to me, I got this thing I want you to see. I want you to do something in it. I said, well, I don't want to play an Italian guy. I'm always playing like, hey, how you doing? Who died and left you, boss?
Right.
There's a guy in college, Biscayne, Florida, and he was like one of these guys, like he was incredibly gay. He was gayer than gay, and he was a funny guy, and he would laugh like this. He'd go, that was wonderful. And I love his laugh. Stop it! I can't even breathe. And I just wanted to play him, and that's how that happened. Because if you ever see the movie, you'll see a lineup of guys. It's all black kids except me. This one honky sticking his head out, and I was auditioning, and I said, I can't understand. Just because of my color, you won't let me audition for the Eddie Murphy part, right?
Right.
But the gay guy was a strong character, so we cut the other thing out and just did that.
Right.
We just did it like it was really like, I don't want to get corny. It's like an act of love, but we just loved it so much and got such a kick out of doing it.
Sure. Sure. No, it's absolutely brilliant, and I have such fond memories of that movie. And for me, I felt like when the younger Wayans, when Sean and Marlon made Don't Be a Menace, and I played Crazy Legs in that, in a lot of ways, we were trying to make something as funny as Hollywood Shuffle. Like, it was like, oh, we're the next generation. We're going to try and, hit that bar. I mean, those are classics, and we look up to those movies, and they're absolutely brilliant. So
I want to ask a question, Sully. Hold on. Dom, did you know it was a classic at the time you were making it?
Oh, no idea. We didn't even know if it would actually ever be seen in theaters. We were just
right.
I mean,
maybe it's easier to be funny when you don't have that expectation. You're just having
there's
fun
no
with
pressure. I mean, we were just we couldn't believe we were doing this movie. Robert organized it.
Yeah.
Then he went on Pat Sajak, and we're
Great
all
reference.
The whole cast were watching it. Robert wasn't there, and Pat Sajak asked him this. So, did you write this yourself? Did you have help writing it, or was it any improv? He goes, no, I wrote it myself. We went, oh no. Me and Wayne's had as much to do with it, the creativity as anybody.
Yes.
He had no credit, and so we kind of had a little tension after that.
Right. Right.
Now it doesn't matter. Now,
right.
We're all half dead now. It doesn't matter. Nothing.
half dead people. What an idea.
Hey, let me ask you this, Dom. As a someone born and raised in Philly, and you claim Philly, what did you think about Ben Simmons' performance in the playoffs and the backlash that came his way?
Well, I was listening to WIP sports radio in Philly.
Yeah.
The next day, and they got so brutal that I actually started rooting for him. Just please, leave, get out of the city.
Yeah.
It's never going to get better.
Yeah.
The idea that that one play where he threw the ball instead of dunking it.
Right.
the definitive moment of this guy is out of Philly.
Right.
It's like they want you to not only dunk it, but punch somebody in the mouth as you're coming down.
Right.
He was such a wuss on that play.
Right.
That was it. I mean, and can you imagine not dunking at 6'9", right at the basket and passing it off? What are you
Dom,
doing?
I heard you say, "Can you imagine not dunking?" And I was like, "Yes, I can." Imagine
Not you, the definitive you, not you personally.
right, I understand.
Yes. I felt bad for him as well, and it's funny. Comics are always taught to go for the joke, and people think that sometimes we can be mean, but most of the people that I've talked to that have rational sense actually feel bad for him.
Well, there was a point where that's what happened to me, because I said, leave the kid alone, just let him go.
Yes, yeah. And I felt like in the post game, he sort of owned up to his shortcomings in a way that I had respect for him. You know what I mean? Like, we all think that we would rise to the moment in those pressure situations, but, we're human. People make mistakes.
People don't realize how easy it is to dunk when you're that size.
Sure. Sure.
Some 5'8" little chubby guy goes, what? He's dunking. That's what he's dunking. It's like, listen, he's jumping an inch.
Yes. Yes. All he has to do is exhale and he's at the rim.
Yeah.
A 4-inch vertical.
What are you, 4'11"?
Me?
Yeah, 4'11".
No, I'm 6'2". On a good day, 5'8" most days.
Dom, what's your height?
In heels or just play?
Oh yeah, I always ask in heels.
I don't know what it is now, but I probably started shrinking.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was. That's so sad. You just started diminish into nothing.
I know. I went to the doctor the other day. I was 6'3", and I still claim I'm 6'3", but the doctor insists I'm 6'2" now. It's all downhill.
People say to me, "Were you a good basketball player?" I go, "For a comedian."
Right.
That's
right.
a good answer.
Right.
What got you into basketball? I mean, you're a big basketball.
That was my neighborhood, because we didn't have any. We certainly didn't play golf. We didn't play golf. We didn't play tennis. We played box ball, touch football, and basketball. If I practiced comedy as much as I did basketball, I'd be a much better comedian. Because it was such a challenge, and it's so much fun.
Yes.
I love comedy, but if I have my choice, I'd love to play.
Right.
What Chris Paul did last night, that just playing like that was beautiful to me.
Oh, it was really phenomenal to watch, and I felt so happy for him, because I remember being on the road. There used to be an Improv in New Orleans, right? At one of the casinos, and while I was out there, I took a cab to the casino, and the cab driver said, "Have you seen this guy Chris Paul?" Right? And I didn't know who Chris Paul was, and I'm a big basketball fan. He's like, "You got to go see this guy play." So while I was there, luckily they were in town. I was able to go see a game. It was relatively close to the casino, and he was phenomenal back then. Like, I instantly became a fan of his, and the fact that him and Monty Williams can come back together and share in this moment and make it to the finals. Like, I felt Monty Williams should have been Coach of the Year.
Did a great job, yeah.
And not just that, but the adversity that he came with, losing his wife, and still having the mental fortitude to come back to the thing that you do and motivate these young guys to really play above themselves.
Well, look, he makes the basket look a lot bigger.
Yes.
He shoots. You think, geez, the basketball. I've had coaches go, like, you can fit two balls at the same time.
Right.
It doesn't feel that way when somebody's coming down on you, and then it feels like this little basket. It's amazing.
Yes.
He's so smooth. The net, when he does that, running towards you and 2 steps back and shoots, it's impossible to stop that.
Well, I love that one play Chris Paul did where he was just under the basket and he isolated the defender and spun on him. The defender bit, and he just shot this little jump shot. And I was like, how do you even have that move in your arsenal? You know what I mean? Like, it was such a great move. It made me enjoy his commercials a little more. And I have a problem with the commercials because I feel like he doesn't even know what's going on anymore. You know what I mean? Like, he just shows up and is like, "Oh, you guys are shooting a commercial? All right, cool."
No, but the thing is, like, and actually, it leads me to a little bit of a shift in what I wanted to talk about, because I think that he doesn't necessarily have that in his arsenal. He's improvising. It's like he's an artist, and so that brings me to this question. Suli, can you say our segment? You know, I love it. I love it when you.
Yeah,
say
Dom, we have this segment where we talk about things that people say in the NBA, and it's called "Say What."
I just love when he says it. And we have this is probably the biggest "say what" of all time, Dom. I'm gonna read you this quote, and try not to fall off your seat, because I that's what it did to me. Okay, so Warriors head coach Steve Kerr giving huge props to KD. He's a big fan of him, calling him a more gifted player than the GOAT, Michael Jordan. He said, "I think Kevin Durant is more gifted than Michael Jordan." He says, "I think he's more gifted. I really do." That's saying something, but Kevin is a entirely different breed. He's 6'11", with guard skills, unlimited three-point range, passing, shot blocking. His shot blocking at the rim is just stunning. Watching him this year was really, really gratifying to see. Now, we know KD is good, but did this sound as insane to you as it did to me?
You know, I think just judge somebody by their time. Well, you know, like if you see those highlights of the NBA when guys would punch each other in the head and stay in the game.
Yes.
It was a different world. I mean, Robert Parrish and McHale and the Pistons. I mean, it was crazy.
Yes.
I mean,
it was WWF.
Like in football, when Dan Marino played at his peak, they used to beat the shit out of quarterbacks.
Yes.
You can't get near them anymore. You know?
Right.
You looked at the quarterback in a hateful manner. That's 5 yards. But I mean, it's.
Well, you know, it's funny, Dom, like you bring that up, because I was thinking about that as well. It's like Trae Young tripped over a ref's foot and he's out, right? Isaiah Thomas almost broke his foot, still played, and was incredible. Like, this dude played on one leg in an NBA Finals and almost single-handedly won them a chip.
Yeah.
But here's my objection to this. I mean, first of all, Dom, it's a great point about time and judging by the time. But, you know, we just had the pandemic. I watched The Last Dance. So I just have had a dose of watching Michael Jordan again. And I'm sorry, there is no more gifted athlete in any sport anywhere. He's not only the greatest of all time in basketball, he's the greatest of all time in everything. That is my argument. And some of it is his ability to control himself in the air. I mean, he's like a video game.
Yeah, I mean, he's spectacular, but is he really better than Kareem was at his peak? I mean, they're different. I mean,
right.
We didn't really
definitely different
live, but what he did, he averaged 50 points a game for a whole season.
Right. But who would you say is more gifted? And I have no problem if you say Kareem. Kareem was incredible. He also was an airplane. I mean, he can do everything.
I mean, Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan, but you know, people forget there were 7 years before he won a championship.
Right.
Kareem came into the league, boom,
instant win. I remember, Dom, before Jordan won, I was in a barber shop, and these two barbers were angrily yelling at each other, almost coming to blows about saying that Michael Jordan would never win a championship. He'll win scoring titles, but he's never going to win a championship. Like, these dudes were ready to fight. And by the way, they were so distracted, I don't even think they cared about cutting my hair at the time. Like, you know what I mean?
He came out bald.
Yes, exactly. But Jordan got his championship, so I guess it all worked out.
Well, he also got Scottie Pippen to play with him.
Yes. You know, and it's weird to see what's happened with Scottie Pippen, because Kevin Durant and Scottie Pippen recently got into it. Like, I don't know if you know about this, Dom, but Scottie Pippen has a new alcohol that's coming out, some sort of liquor of some sort, and a new book. So he's saying all kinds of crazy stuff.
Get attention.
He did this GQ interview where he critiqued KD's game, that final game where KD was spectacular, where he had 48 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, setting a record for most points in a Game 7. And Scottie Pippen basically ripped it to shreds, saying that he's he's not LeBron, and LeBron would have found a way to win, and LeBron makes his teammates better, which was crazy to me.
Dom, what's your take on it?
I'm sorry, I'd fallen asleep for a second. First of all, I'm from Philadelphia.
Right.
So everything's negative. Like the Eagles could win a championship, and they're walking off the field, and the fans are going, "Yeah, but what's he gonna do next year?"
Right. Right.
Next year to hate something, and I think I can understand his bitterness because he was so good, Pippen, that it was like Jordan got all the attention.
Yes.
But nobody can win without some players. I mean, Chris Paul has always been a terrific guard, but now he's got people around him.
Right.
Am I answering your question?
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Like, he's got an ascending Devin Booker around him, which makes you finally appreciate Chris Paul. And you've got to be a true NBA fan to even know what he did in OKC, because people aren't paying attention to OKC, but he really turned that franchise around. And I think soon as he went to the Suns, I was like, uh-oh, the Suns are going to be a force. They were a 2 seed all year, and it's not surprising that they made it to the NBA Finals. Like, they're on the verge of potentially winning a chip. But I do agree with you, Dom. Like, you make a great point about appreciating players in their own special time. Like, that performance that KD put on was remarkable. It was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. Like, a guy that gifted to come off that Achilles break like that and to perform at that high level, it was astonishing. Like, I thought about that for 3 days after the fact.
People don't realize how much wind it takes to play that whole game.
Right, right.
And
he had no other options. Like, a dude like Joe Harris, who's a great shooter, beat Steph Curry in the All-Star three-point shooting contest, couldn't knock down a shot. So KD is a big-time pressure performer, and honestly, it was one of the best performances I've ever seen. Like, I think it was the best example of playoff basketball that we'll see all year.
Yeah, you could see, give me the ball, I know it's in.
Yes, yes.
It's in, just give it to me.
Yes,
yeah.
And that's a level of confidence that very few people understand.
That's something, though, that I wanted to address in terms of assessing who these great players are, whether it's Chris Paul or Michael Jordan or Kareem or Pippen. People have a certain level of confidence. It's one of the things I love about basketball.
Yes.
I'm a therapist, so of course I gravitate towards this, but we talk a lot about the mental game on this show.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another reason why I think Jordan is the best, is that he listen, I could get in trouble for saying this if anyone was paying attention to me. But hey, if they do, I'm going to say something controversial here. I do think Jordan would have found a way to win that. I think he would have. And I'm not saying anything against Durant. I really like KD a lot, and he's an incredibly gifted guy. But one of the gifts of Jordan, and this is why I was surprised to hear Steve Kerr say that, is that Jordan had the gift of the mental strength. He had all these other gifts, but he also had that.
He's spectacular, and spectacular wins over just great, but making it look easy.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes just make it look easy. I mean, I forgot how good Bird was because I was a Laker fan.
Right.
I hate Bird. And then now that I look back on some of the highlights, I'm thinking he was amazing. His shooting, but he just wasn't spectacular.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Jordan made everything everything at different level. But Dr. J at his time, he was he was just as spectacular as Jordan. When he got Moses Malone, then he wins a championship all of a sudden. He wasn't any better. He was worse that year, but he had Moses,
But he had the complementary pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll add to this is that and Scottie Pippen deserves so much credit, but I do think that Pippen did benefit from learning from Jordan. It was to his credit that he learned, but he became the player he was from Jordan, and he obviously had to have the physical.
There are sports arguments that can never be resolved, and one of them is Rocky Marciano being an undefeated champ.
Yes.
People go, Ali would have beaten him, and Tyson would have beaten him. Maybe they would have, but they didn't. They didn't have the chance to beat him, so just let it be out there and And the
Right.
bar guys.
This is like the barbershops. This is like the barbershop scene from Coming to America.
Absolutely.
There he goes. A white guy always
Absolutely.
got to pull Rocky Marciano on his ass.
Yeah. And it's funny, Dom, I'm like you where coming up, I wasn't a Larry Bird fan because I wasn't a Celtic fan. And, the Lakers just made sense to me. Like, Magic was charming. He had a great personality. But in time, I've come to appreciate Larry Bird. And I like the fact that Larry Bird had supreme confidence in his abilities. Like, I love that story about Larry Bird showing up for the 3-point contest in the All-Star game and saying, which one of you guys is taking second? You know what I mean? Like, I love that. I love when you can talk trash and back it up.
When with Xavier McDaniel, I think it was, he said, when I come back here, I'm going to right here, I'm going to shoot it in your face. There's nothing you can do about it.
Right. And then he did it.
Yeah.
And then he did it.
I remember Barkley. I don't know if you remember the conversation that night, but he said McHale was unstoppable.
Right.
He's the toughest. And, he was like that, Herman Munster arms. And,
Yep.
how do you stop a 6'11" guy who's backing up and that weird a body?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, just that weird body having contact on you. You're like, this doesn't feel right.
No, I mean, I look at Kevin McHale, and you're right, Dom. You can't settle these arguments, but it's part of the joy of the sports, isn't it, to have these arguments? But I look at Kevin McHale. He looked like a clothes hanger. He just was constantly just elbows everywhere.
Yes.
There's no way you could guard that.
I have a question for you, Dom. Like, we were talking about Pat Bev and the Pat Bev mentality, and it just made me connect back to stand-up. Has there ever been a time where you're on stage where a guy tries to heckle you, you humiliate them, and they turn into a Pat Beverley?
Did you ever get shoved from behind by the MC or
while you were
else?
on stage?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was at the Improv a couple weeks ago, and I said, I opened with, I got my vaccination today, and they clap. I go, well, I get one every day just to be safe, I get different vaccination. I said, I'm still getting the polio vaccination. It's funny how the psychology of for some reason, this audience liked me.
Yes.
It was a lady who heckled me. I said some joke that offended her, which, by the way, with comedy now, we don't know what to say or what we can't say.
Right. Right.
And somebody hollered out, and it sounded so funny. He goes, "Let the man talk," about me. Like,
yeah, right. Right.
Like I was kind of pathetic but funny.
Yes.
Dom, I actually wanted to ask a question. This is an observation about you, and I'm curious if this will ring true to you. But I think that one of the keys to your humor is that you're very patient. Like, your timing is perfect, and it's partly because you're patient. Like, there's just a calmness to you. Look, you both know Dom a lot better than I do. Suli, even you can comment on it. But that's what strikes me about Dom. Yeah.
Dom, I'm sorry. I'm gonna let you have the floor on this. I was just gonna say one of the things that I've always respected about your approach to comedy is you come at it from a very real place. There are guys that come in with their set jokes and they don't deviate from that. They do their set, they get off on stage. You are one of those people that you are present in the moment, and whatever happens.
Well, I like the people. I like to let walk out of there thinking I saw something live that I wouldn't see, of the moment. It's so much funnier.
Yes.
And, when you can see a guy like those Tonight Show guys in 5 minutes would, you don't believe that it really happened. You believe that the guy really wrote this thing and had people help. I'd rather have people go, oh, I think he made that up right then,
Right.
For some reason.
Right.
And that's the joy of sports too. That's the joy of sports too. We're seeing something that's happening in the moment. That's what I was thinking about with Chris Paul. Like, I don't think he had that in his arsenal. I just think it happened.
You know what I also think about that Chris Paul performance was he had a terrible game before that. Like, he had come back and he really underperformed. And that's also the mark of greatness. And what's really cool about the sport of basketball is you see these guys make real-time adjustments. And I've seen this with comics. Like, that is the rule about comedy. You're only as good as your last show. And oftentimes when you have a show that is subpar according to you, that next show, you're sharper, you're more focused, you're more present. Like, the adjustment curve is really, really stark the longer you've been doing this and the better you are at this.
Well, I think it's amazing how some guys, they hide from the spotlight when it's really important. And
Right.
other guys, they raise their level, and whatever it is, you talk about being a therapist and how much the psyche has to do with it. It has a lot to do with it.
Yes.
You know, all of a sudden, the guy who shoots 90% from the foul line misses a shot, a foul shot. It's like, why? How can he miss? Because the pressure was on him. A friend of mine, he said to me about golf. He goes, golf, I don't understand how they miss a 10-foot putt. What's the big deal? I go, it's a billion people watching you. Your arms feel different. Everything's different when the pressure's on.
Yes.
Some people just get it. They can focus and they go up. The other ones they start shaking.
Yeah, listen, Dom.
They get rid of that ball. And that kid that we're getting back to the Sixers kid, Simmons.
Yes.
Yeah.
He just withers.
Yes.
He gets worse. I mean, and he's a front runner. If they're loose and they're winning by a lot, he'll be dunking.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he threw an alley-oop in that series that was beautiful, but they were up 15, you know?
Yeah, well, I'm a mind-body therapist, and what I talk about is that the physicality changes when the mindset changes. And that's a very important thing to understand in sports. I mean, you see these guys in baseball, they can't make the throw from second base all of a sudden. Once it's in your head, it's hard.
I used to open for Cher, and we did a lot of arenas. And people ask me, isn't that harder? I go, it's actually easier because you get the wave of a laugh. You have to wait for a laugh like it's a wave coming in, right? And I was so confident in it. I'd bring up a glass of wine, and I'd do it, and it just, boom, it was easy. My sister came to see the show at Madison Square Garden, and she put it in my head. She goes, I can't believe you're here at the Garden. She goes, Sinatra played here. Muhammad Ali fought here. And I said, Lord, I can't get this in my head right now.
Right.
It affected me. And when I was on stage, I felt, holy shit, I'm in Madison Square Garden. And they didn't even come to see me.
Yes.
When I was on the bill, she was cool enough to do that, but it's still, and it was the first time I thought, it's so psychological.
Yes.
The next night I was in Denver, and it was 22,000 people. So two extra 1,000 people. I was I could have done it in a hammocks. They hung me up in that, and my head came in. Hey, how you doing? It was that easy.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's an amazing thing that you say, Dan, because it really is about your mental and what you allow to get into your head. We were talking about other players that do they rise to the moment or not. What did you think about Paul George this season? Because here's a guy, Kawhi went down. He had to be the focal point. He embarrassed himself last year in the bubble. Like, what is your feelings about Paul George and this season and how it all played out for the Clippers?
Well, I think his talent and his psyche finally merged together.
Yeah,
he could finally play as good as he could always play. He played the same as when the pressure was on as when the pressure was off.
Yes.
People realized this guy always had it, but he kind of slipped to the background a little when it really, really counted. But this time he came forward.
Right.
Because he had to,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I love to see players rise up in that way, and it's one of the reasons it's such a shame that Giannis and Trae Young are both hurt right now, because they were both getting up to a new level.
Yes,
and I want to see that.
I think there's so many basketball injuries. Do you think LeBron was right when he said because the season's too long, because I remember my whole life there's somebody getting hurt and thinking, oh, without him, how are we going to win? It's like
right. I feel like the downtime in between the bubble and then starting this new season, like, look, they were in a crunch. Like, they didn't know what was going to happen. This pandemic has affected everybody adversely. And they just said, hey, look, we've got this window. We've got to go for it. and they did, but that did take a lot of wear and tear on the body. I mean, look at all the guys that have gone down. You know what I mean? Like the Eastern Conference Finals are missing their 2 marquee players.
Yeah,
and
it's
whoever wins, it's just a matter of the healthiest team is going to go on and go to the NBA Finals.
Yeah, this season,
people use money as an excuse. He gets paid $39 million. That doesn't make you a better foul shooter under pressure.
Right.
How
right,
much to tell you?
Nor does it prevent you from twisting an ankle.
It might even make it worse because the pressure's on you. But I mean, this season's like Game of Thrones. Like whoever's left standing is just the one who was left standing.
Yes, yes, yeah.
It's wild.
I lost a lot of my fun when I lost my hatred. I had hatred for the Celtics because the Celtics beat the hell out of Philly as far back as when Philly was the Warriors.
Yes,
they just always beat, and they had like kind of an all-star team. And in those days, I think the NBA was like had eight teams or something ridiculous.
Right.
And so once these Sixers won in '83, I never felt the same hatred. So it wasn't as much fun.
Right.
Oh, I'm totally with you.
To get hurt, but I just wanted to see them beat them. You know.
I'm a Cleveland fan, and I thought I would never witness a championship. Oh, hey, listen, we won in 2016, and it's true. In some ways, I'm much calmer now. I'm just like, I don't hate anybody anymore.
As a Clipper fan, I still have all my anger and all my disdain. But I will say this. For us going to a place that we've never gone to before, we made it to the Western Conference Finals. It would have been great to have Kawhi. We didn't have Kawhi. It did feel good that this team showed a toughness and a resolve. I love what Ty Lue did. And can I tell you, Reggie Jackson, I don't know if you caught his post game after the Clippers were eliminated. It was one of the most moving, honest, perfect just assessments of what basketball means to these guys. Like he said, he wouldn't have been in the league if it weren't for this year with the Clippers, and playing on this team saved his life. It was amazing. And as an artist, as somebody who does stand up where nothing's guaranteed in stand up, it really touched me and it affected me. And I was like, you know what? If you have the courage to believe in your dream and do something about it, more power to you. So it made me a Reggie Jackson fan for life.
I'll tell you one thing in life that doesn't miss your McDonald's bit. Never.
See, there's the genius of Dom. It's like you're having this great serious moment, and then he paused for just the right amount.
Yes.
And then boom,
boom, gave me a little something. Last question, Dom, because this has been fantastic. You know, I love you to death. You're one of my favorite comedians.
I got you.
I just want to know your thoughts about Allen Iverson.
I love the fact that Allen Iverson, he never blamed his teammates.
Yes.
Say what you want about his gold and his attitude, and I don't think he was ever played without being high on pot.
Right.
But I admire him so much. You know, I know that, you know, he was jive and he this and that. But
yeah.
Incredible. First of all, an incredible athlete. I mean, him and Mike Vick are the two, for their size, were ridiculous.
Yes.
You ever see highlights of Iverson playing football? He's amazing, unbelievable. But I respect him so much for not laying it on his teammates, you know?
Sure. I mean, and that team that he took to the finals, it was basically him and a bunch of guys that were role players.
Oh, yeah. He's 6 foot tall. I mean, like when Larry Bird did that to his teammates. It was a game.
To his friends, to his buddies.
To his man friends. Who was it? Jerry Smith, the gay guy who dropped the ball in the end zone.
Oh, the Cowboys guy,
yeah.
Jackie Smith.
Jackie Smith, yeah.
Yep.
And he was gay too, right?
I don't actually know.
You know what? This is a bad subject to get into at the end of the show.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, if you can wrap this up and get out of this one, Dom, you really are number one on the list of all-time great comedians.
Now begins the second half of the show where we discuss gay politics for 45 minutes.
Yes, in a positive way.
I like to watch lesbians because they show me. All right, we'll see you next time, folks. Thanks for having me on, guys. Good to hang with you.
Hey, this was great. Once again, dude, like you're one of my favorite people. I'm so glad that we could talk basketball, talk comedy, talk life. Dom Irrera, where are you going back to Kilkenny anytime soon? What's on the Dom Irrera look for me where?
Kilkenny would have been like 3 weeks ago, so it didn't work for. They had like a little thing, but no Americans.
Right. Right.
The thing, I got a couple gigs. Like I have one gig that's really a pressure gig. It's in Atlantic City. Tropicana in October.
Yes.
And I have to do an hour, and like now an hour seems a lot harder than it did before the
pandemic. Sure.
Or whatever it's called.
Sure.
The Palominski.
Yes. Yes.
I have like, I'm doing Reno. You ever been to Reno?
I spent 2 weeks in Reno with a magician, and I wanted to kill myself after 4 days.
I always love when people say, "Look, you'll really have a good time, but don't go outside." There's a lot of gunplay there. Oh, good.
Great. Sounds like my audience. Sounds like my core people. Dom, you're the greatest. Run It Back fans, we're back next week, and we're talking NBA Finals. We are finally at the NBA Finals in this very strange NBA season. I'm Suli McCullough. My co-host is Dan Ratner. We'll see you again on Run It Back.
Dan, Sully, nice working with you.